So today I'm gonna teach you what is the Spring Boot, not the definition. Just this way of learning will make you a true senior engineer. Just look at the topic. Within 12 days, with 12 videos, you are going to become a perfect senior engineer to crack any technical interview in any level. The reason is because of this mental model. Nowadays, the world has evolved. Now we have to learn through mind map. Things are already there into the system. Through one prompt into chat GPT, you can get everything. But what you can't get is the memory model that you have to incorporate in your mind. And that's the reason I have come up with this idea. Why we have to learn this thing. Just remember this. First, learn what is configuration, then startup, then beans, auto configuration, web, data, security, async, observabilities, and performance. Simple. Make is a very tactic name. Anyhow, remember it like chronology. Now let's start. I'm going to give you a foundation. What I'm going to teach you in coming 11 days. And that everything starts with this one, a big picture. That why Spring Boot came. Okay. The reason I think everyone knows is how to configure, how to reason about, how to operate, misconfiguration. All these things were actually happening in the production. And that's the reason Spring Boot came on top of Spring Framework. It's like a second floor on the first floor building. And then here comes the why Spring Boot exists, because it solves these four problems. First, we learn, and we are going to learn why. See the structure, how I'm going to teach you. Why Spring Boot? Why it exists? And then its feature. What is the core thing that it provides? Is the opinionated default as strategy. Then comes Spring Boot startup flow. This is something once you have command over the startup flow, you will actually understand how Spring Boot actually works. And that will help you to become a real senior engineer. And once you will know, then the real magic, we call it a brain of Spring Boot application, that is called application context. Everything is there. Everything is there. And then the most powerful thing about Spring Boot is auto configuration. And it simply resonates that what you can configure, that's pattern is already known to you. That only, if things are already known, if a pattern you have already find, then you can configure that. And that's what the auto configuration does. If you understand the mechanism, how auto configuration happens in the Spring Boot, done. You have the command over Spring Boot. Now comes the most important, because everything that happens is this two core principle is being lifecycle and dependency injection. Because what Spring Boot deals with with objects and dependencies. That's it. Then configuration is the first class concern. Why configuration? Because every application is different. It has different environment, different reason, different scale, different compliance. Of course, these four variable is going to different for each and every application in each and every company. So that's the reason configuration is the first class citizen. And for that, Spring Boot is a master. Okay, application, YAML file, profile, environment variable, everything. And then comes the real person, that is web. We not only web, it like creates other type of application as well, but we are going to understand about web more. And we generally think client comes to controller. No, in between there is a filter, dispatcher servlets, and then interceptors that will make you a real senior developer to understand what actually happening inside my calls. Okay, and then comes the most important thing is the database interaction, the database access, and the transaction. If you are going to make a something very big, a big application, a truly enterprise application, you can't compromise with transaction. If you understand the deep level of this, the mechanism, how transaction happens, you understand each and everything about Spring Boot. And then comes something that can never be compromised, and that is security. And this is something that every fintech company nowadays, these fintech companies are flourishing, and they can't compromise with these two things, that is the scale and security. And security happens in Spring via filters. Once you understand these things, done, you are now able to debug application like a pro. And then comes the scalability that has async messaging and understanding a true load, that is back pressure. If you are incorporating so many things into the application, what pressure is going to feel, that makes you a mature developer. And if something is working, you can't let it go for someone else. You are the one who is going to measure it. If you can't measure, you can't correct. And how can you measure? You can measure by observing matrices, logs, that is actuators is there, matrix, health check, and everything is there. That is the real system performance. And once you measure it, then you can correct it. Then comes the performance. What is the quantitative analysis of that application, how much load it is taking? And at the end comes the senior level design thinking, that look, I'm not a developer who is going to write the code. I'm a developer who think as a senior developer. How can I make application? What are the hidden problem? What are trade-offs? Okay, what failure comes into the production? And this thing, configuration, startup, bean, auto configuration, web, data security, observability, and performance. And then you are going to become a true Spring Boot developer who is going to crack the interview like pro. So let's start with the journey. Within 11 videos, I'm gonna make you a real Spring Boot developer. Thank you so much. Just comment on my video, like, share, and subscribe. Thank you so much.